Right, that's why you already got it.
I thought I had unmuted, but apparently I didn't. So good evening.
So you just been talking.
I was talking, but I really did think I had unmuted. I actually pushed the button, but it didn't unmute. In any case. So I think we got a pretty good topic tonight. So we more marriagey talk tonight.
I guess I don't know. I don't know what that means. Is that a word?
Marriagey is a word that I made up, and so we have more of a marriage. I wonder if my internet is jacked up. We have more of a marriage talk tonight.
Who on there? Can y'all hear? Can y'all hear her?
I think so.
I'm asking the people who on there.
But it ain't gonna always be people on there when we're talking, so we just
I know, but I'm saying there's somebody on there now, so ain't it?
Mm-hmm. So we are going to be yes.
Okay, cool.
So we're going to be talking about what are we talking about? What type of fruit is your marriage producing? And so, what do you think that means? Did you send me some questions?
I did, but I mean, if you already had some, don't.
I
worry
didn't have
about it.
any. I was just I didn't. I always ask you for the question.
I know. Waited till 10 minutes left.
But because we've been planning on being live tonight for like a week.
I know, but who knew I was gonna have to come up with the questions for the topic you chose?
But you,
I thought you was gonna have questions, but that's neither here nor there.
because it's always his show. I don't understand why we have to go through this. All
Good
the time.
evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evenings.
Cut me off.
Good evenings. Sorry. Good evenings. What does it mean? What does what mean?
What does it mean when I say, "Are you producing fruit in your marriage?"
Um, for me, I think it means okay. So to me, I think that everybody produces fruit. It's just a matter of whether it's good fruit or bad fruit.
I can agree.
You know what I'm saying? So like, I can't really say like it means you being a good example. Like good fruit to me is you being a good example of what like a godly marriage is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you're understanding that people are watching. You know what I mean? Like no matter where you are and what you're doing, there's somebody watching. Like especially that with the work that we do in the different rooms and stuff that we are in and the different circles and stuff that we are in, that puts even more on it. You know what I'm saying? Because more people are watching and they're watching to not only see like, okay, all right, well, you carry yourself a certain way, but they want to see your reaction to things.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So when somebody do or say something, like how do you react? How do you respond? So to me, that's the good fruit. Now bad fruit can be a number of things when you're not either you're naive or you don't understand that the things that you do aren't about you. You know what I'm saying? So like we got kids. So our marriage has to be an example for our kids.
Right.
We're in the church. So our marriage doesn't have to be, but it's going to be an example for others in the church, both single people and married people. We both work in uh, social services field, I guess you would say. Social services field. So our marriage is going to be an example there as well, right? Especially like you working at the battered women's shelter. Like I mean, obviously they ain't gonna see like a lot of the personal stuff, but at the same time, you know, like if you talk about me in a great light and things of that nature, nah. but just all the different I don't even necessarily want to say circles, but all the different spaces that we operate in. Just yeah.
Okay, so but I mean, you know, I'll be having questions off of questions off of questions.
Yes, we know.
Okay, so with all that you just said,
did they ask a question?
No,
Oh.
I already showed that. With all that you just said, when you think about, I mean, because it's plain reality. When you think about our marriage, like, what's the fruit of something that you actually see us doing? Do that make sense?
Not really. I'm trying to figure it out.
So, like, what is something that we're doing that's bearing fruit for somebody else?
This.
No, you got to give me something
No,
different.
not this.
No.
Why do I got to give you something different?
Like, you got to go into detail.
Wait, you
can't
asked me the question and then gonna tell me how to answer the question.
Because I was barely done, and you said this.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm done now.
Oh, so you are done.
All right. But you can't not this. I mean.
Okay, so
okay, why is this bearing fruit then?
No, oh nope. I can't say this, remember? So I'm not even gonna no. Repeat the question.
I don't remember. You gotta be listening. Goodness.
All right, so what is something that we've done or do that bears fruit? Mm-hmm. Good fruit or bad fruit?
Good fruit. And good then fruit. You can't do bad fruit after that.
Good fruit? I'm biased, obviously, but I'm not gonna sit here and be like, yeah, this bears bad fruit, because I don't think we put bad fruit out there. I mean, we probably do, but I ain't about to be running down no list. Anyway, I think we had some tough times like early in our marriage, and I think like growing through that together is something that like has bared good fruit.
Well, I mean, but what's the fruit? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was barely finished. But no, I think it's just it's the fruit, in my opinion, is showing people that like tough times aren't a death sentence for your marriage.
Gotcha.
And everybody doesn't know our business and stuff like that, but for the people that it's meant to know, you know what I mean? Like it's just a fruit that shows like, hey, you can come back from some stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't mean it's over just because it might be something that you always thought in your life, like if this ever happened, it's over. You know what I'm saying? But just that perseverance and just kind of showing how it's work. But if both people are willing to do the work, it don't have to be a death sentence, so to speak.
So this is a little aside. Like years ago, this person came and told me, "Oh my God, when I see you and your husband, I just be thinking like, man, that's how I want my marriage to be and all this type of stuff." Now, I mean, I'm the first to always say that, I shouted out divorce all the time. I was that person. So when people would say that, and this was then in that rough patch of our marriage, I'd just be looking at them like in my head, I'm like rolling my eyes and like smacking my lips and doing all this type of stuff. Like, if you only knew. But then it's like all these years later, where we'd have been through counseling, we'd have been through some other stuff that's hit our marriage. And now we in the space that we in now, I can be like, oh, okay, well, I think we okay now. But that was a long time ago. That was just a little aside when you was talking about the fruit thing. But that used to be in my head. So,
but I mean, honestly, but that says a lot, though. You know what I mean? Like, because at the end of the day, yeah, we're going through what we're going through, but y'all don't know that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like whatever it is, we're wearing it on our sleeves, or like we're out talking to everybody about it, or you know what I mean? Like putting our bit, like we ain't jumping on Facebook, like
talking about
like let me run this down real quick and make sure everybody validate me and telling me I'm right in this. It's okay, we going through what we going through, we working on what we working on. And then when we come out on the other side and we like, okay, all good. Like, all right.
So the other part of what I said was, okay, what type of fruit is your marriage? What was it? What type of fruit is your marriage producing? But then I said every marriage, like kind of the description was like every marriage, there is a purpose for like every marriage. So I mean, you know, pain reality. So I feel like I'm interviewing you tonight.
Well, why?
This is good. This is a good thing. What do you think the purpose of our marriage is?
You gotta give me these questions before we get on.
No, because I think
so I can think about it.
No, you ain't supposed to. Like it's supposed to be like a spontaneous answer to see if you really be thinking about our marriage. I'm just saying.
What's the question?
You didn't hear me?
Yeah, but you gotta repeat it.
What do you think the purpose of our marriage is? I just feel like every marriage has a purpose. Like it's ministry. Like it is at the end of the day, your marriage is a ministry. So what do you think the ministry of our marriage is? You think, Joel?
Am
I don't know.
I mean, you asked me, you saying am I? I mean, you said it. The purpose of our marriage. See, I could say the cliche answer, like to give God the glory so people can see that. But that'd have been the easy way out. But no, I mean, I really do think it's, like I said earlier, is to show people like one, that is work, and then two, that like just be an example of like what a godly marriage is. Like you're gonna have problems, like that's inevitable. Like no marriage is gonna be perfect, but like you just talked about, people coming up to you saying, "Oh, I want to be like you and your husband," in some of our roughest times. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody can't say that.
Right.
Whether it's, and it don't have to be that you're putting your business out there. It can simply be you wear it on your face. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like it could be that type of thing where you don't even think, like you're like, I don't talk to nobody, I don't tell my business, but your countenance says it. You know what I'm saying? Like your spirit says it when you walk in a room, or when somebody's talking about spouses or your husband or your wife, and you know what I'm saying? Like give a little quick look or whatever, like this. Right? Or
can't say that word.
Huh?
Can't say that word.
I didn't. I just said this. People know what that means. You know what I mean? I really think it's that type of thing. Like I think I think the stuff that like some of the stuff that we've been through and go through, just like being a blended family. Everybody's not built for that. And again, there's tough times, but for the most part, I would say we did an all right job. I mean, there's some stuff that could be better, could have been better, but yeah.
So you had said like people out here, for lack of a better word, is talking about their spouse. Like let's have that conversation. Like when you think about it from that standpoint, because that will be an example for me of bearing bad fruit.
Right.
It's like every time you turn around, anybody who willing to listen, I want to sit here and tell you about how my husband or my wife did whatever they did, and it could be nothing really, or that comparison thing that, like, I've been involved in conversations that I had to walk away from because of comparison. Like you're married to who you're married to, but you're always comparing them to somebody that they think is better.
Right.
Like, do you have any words like surrounding that, or like if you was in that situation where, like, one of your friends, but not one of your friends is in your group chat friends, but like a friend was doing that to their spouse, like what would you say? Like, how do you? Okay, so if we all about the purpose of this marriage or the fruit that we're bearing in this marriage is to help, because for lack of a better word, what we do well is help people. So like, how would we help that? Like, how would you have that conversation with somebody who all they can do is complain or compare their spouse to everybody else? And then when you think about it, if I'm so busy out here, comparing my spouse to your lack to somebody else is greater or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
What fault am I taking in this if I'm not seeing you in a different light? Because it really literally could not even be you. It really could just be my perception of how I see things.
Mm-hmm. Well, quick disclaimer. We're not saying, or I don't think you're saying, like, you can't have your inner circle and talk to your inner circle.
No, but when I think about it, even like in an inner circle, I still wouldn't go.
I get what you're saying, but sometimes people, and I'm not saying you go and you run them down and stuff like that, but sometimes people have people that they confide in and stuff like that. That's not what we're talking about. Like, if even with your inner circle, if you're comparing and you're tearing down your spouse and stuff like that, like for me, I would try to help them, like, look at themselves, you know what I mean, themselves, and like you said, it may not be your spouse, like it may be something that this is just your perception. But I would also be like, man, I hope you ain't running around telling a bunch of people this stuff.
But typically, remember the one time we did that show and we was talking about, like, sometimes in your perception you're just looking for that 1 or 2 or 3 million people that's going to validate your perception of it. But a lot of times I think that's what it is. I'm so discontent with how I see my spouse or even how I see my marriage that I'm spouting that all over the place. First of all, what life and death is in the power of the tongue. So you killing your marriage, first of all. But at the same time, I'm telling so many people because I'm looking for somebody to eventually validate that, oh yeah, I see exactly what you see about your spouse. And so then that's more bad fruit that's been planted that didn't even have to be planted. But I don't know, sometimes I think that's like a selfish thing, for lack of a better word.
It is, but I mean, and it is but that's why struggle, like that's why marriage can be so tough, because you're going to run into things, like there's going to be issues in a marriage, some way, shape, or form. Some are bigger than others, some are small things, but is your individual mindset or personality going to take over? You know what I'm saying? So it's I instead of we. It's me instead of we. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when this stuff comes about and stuff happens, am I going back to just thinking about me? And if I'm going back to thinking about me, then yes, I'm going to look for validation. I'm going to tell, hey, one of y'all got to be like, yeah, bro, you right. she, you know what I mean? For real.
Yeah.
Because like you said, I'm looking for, and the more people I can get to say, yeah, you right. Like we see it, people jump on Facebook, hey, what if asking for a friend? No, you're asking for you. Like sometimes you're asking for a friend, but most times it's because it's something you've been through or it's something that personally is affecting you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's a roundabout way to still get that validation. But like you said, that's a selfish thing where it's like you're putting yourself over the marriage, over the union, because if it's about both of us, then okay, this is a conversation I'm gonna have with you. Or if I'm not, at this point, I'm definitely not going out, hey, and comparing. But a lot of times those people that do that are people that did that before they were married.
Yeah, I actually knew somebody who did that.
What?
Like always, and not necessarily, it wasn't necessarily just about the comparison. It was more about the complaining. Like it was like everything in the world was wrong with this person, and they've never seen themselves as anything
wrong.
Yeah, like you're the greatest person in the world listening to this person talk, and everybody surrounding you is the problem but you.
Right.
You know, and so I always said, man, that's so selfish. That's the mindset, you know. But okay. How do you, and I guess we both gonna have to answer this, but how do you make sure your marriage is bearing good fruit, or even at the purpose of your marriage, like you're living out the purpose of your marriage, when you think about it, why did God say, okay, I'm putting my blessed stamp on Tia and Julius Payne?
Don't do that.
I'm just saying.
Don't do that.
But he put it on it for a reason. So like when we think purpose, it's like, okay, are we making sure, not only are we making sure that we're bearing good fruit in our marriage, but that we're living the purpose, that you're walking in the purpose that God had for our marriage.
Mm-hmm. You can answer first.
I asked you first.
Well, you said
okay. So I mean, when I personally think, so, and this is it for me. I think a lot of times this is a like a woman thing. Women rush things.
Occasionally
we rush. Perfect example. If I say, Jew, can you tighten those screws on that table upstairs in the dining room? And then you say yes. In my head,
he about to do that, all right?
He about to do it right now. But in reality, that was a week ago, and you still ain't tightened the screws.
That was like 2 days ago.
I see, you told on yourself.
I did, but I know what you're talking about.
So my point being is, I think sometimes until you come to a point where, I always say we got to go back to your relationship with God, because I feel like until you are at a point in your relationship with God, I believe God will start giving you understanding.
Mm-hmm.
God will start, showing you the stuff that you need to know. So I guess the perfect way to do that is make sure your relationship with God is on point, making sure our relationship, so in my head, I think like I have a relationship with God, you have a relationship with God, and then the union of us has that relationship with God. So on all points, the relationship with God has to be okay. Because if we're praying, if we're seeking God separately, but together as a couple as well, then I think the purpose of our marriage is going to be fulfilled, because we have that relationship with God. We got our ears tuned to what God is saying about what he wants us to fulfill. And we're always going to make sure, that we walking in that.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Ditto.
No, sir. You have to have something totally different than what I said.
I totally different.
I mean, a little different.
But I think I agree with everything you said. I think that you also have to be intentional, because like every day you step out of your house, like we talked about earlier, somebody's watching. Every day you step into your house, when you're around your kids, they're watching, right? They're listening. They're seeing the things that you do. Most people are going to model the behaviors that they see.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be intentional and understand that, like, you're not living your life for you. Like I think that's one of the biggest things that, like, people that complain and like tell all their business and do all that. Like, it doesn't matter what realm you're in, you're not living your life for you, right? You can, especially if you're married. But I mean, if you're single, yeah, you're still not. You know what I'm saying? But especially when you're married, like you're not, because there are so many different entities and so many different realms and spaces where you're going to have an impact.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like so many, like whether it's social media, whether it's on your job, whether it's your kids, whether it's your spouse. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different, boom, you do this, you coach, you play basketball. Okay, you speak, you do this, you work here, you work there. And it's like all these different spaces, I'm a representation of that marriage. You know what I mean? Like regardless of, hey, they know me, they've never met my wife, or they know me, they've never met my husband. Mm-hmm. I'm a representation of that marriage. So if I'm out there like complaining all the time, if I'm out there like downing my spouse all the time, or I'm out there doing all this different stuff that married individuals don't do or aren't expected to do, bearing bad fruit, you know what I'm saying? Then it's, oh, okay, that's what you're putting out there.
So, in a sense, like if you out here, if God has called me to be a speaker, or work in whatever circles that I'm working in, but then I got a husband who out here bad mouthing me or doing stuff like that, that's potentially throwing some
salt in the
pitfall.
game. You can say
Yeah.
it's salt in the
So
game.
where maybe I won't even say purpose, but maybe an area that should have been open
Mhm.
due to our union,
Right.
you've now shut down
Right.
just from talking and
Mhm.
speaking on me in such a bad way, which may simply just be your perception,
Right.
but not me as a person.
Right.
So yeah. So I'm trying to think of what it was I was about to say. You said impact.
Mhm.
Okay. So if we talking about the impact of a marriage bearing good fruit, how far do you think that impact is reaching?
Like personally, or just
Yeah.
just in general?
No, how do you personally see that?
If we're bearing good fruit,
Mhm.
I mean, for each marriage, obviously, is going to be different. But I think for the work that we do, and for the stuff that you do, like it's going to be like worldwide. You know what I mean? Like it's going to reach globally. But seriously, you know what I mean? Because now with social media and stuff like that, like okay, if we never step foot in Peru, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
but somebody from Peru and seeing you on TikTok or one of your messages or something like that, you know what I'm saying? Or seeing on YouTube,
Pain reality.
like I mean, it's so far reaching, depending on what circles and stuff you're in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I don't think that, like you said, every marriage has a purpose. I don't think that every marriage is designed to be global. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I also don't think that every marriage is designed to just be local either. Like people don't understand who's watching. Like I seen something today. A young man has a business that he runs, and somebody wanted him to do the work, and he's like, "Well, this isn't coming up or whatever. I can't find the location. They're in a whole nother state." And this is just from something he's put on Facebook.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So like you never know who's watching. You never know like how far your hands reach, how far your voice reaches, how far your marriage reaches. You know what I mean? You never know. So that's why I say you got to be intentional and just understand like somebody's always watching, and you never know what kind of circles it'll put you in, what kind of rooms it'll put you in. Because like you said, you talking down on your marriage or your wife or your husband can close certain doors, but you choosing to deal with that internally and not spread your business and not look for that validation can open other doors. You know what I mean? It can put you in a room with somebody who's been through some of the stuff you've been through. It can help you work through that stuff, help you all work through it. And before you know it, you're like, oh, okay, it was divine that I met them.
Right, yeah.
And now they done poured into my life. Now we better on better terms. We moving forward. And now we can pour into somebody else's life in a good way. All because I chose to shut my mouth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, perfect example really is the email I got, had a conversation, and they was like, well, we would like both you and your husband to come. So, but something that I've been like thinking about lately is marriage has really, and I'm not saying I don't get it, but marriage has gotten a very bad name. Like some people don't show marriage in the best light. And so I think so I have put out this video, and this didn't have nothing to do with marriage, but it made me think. I was talking about, you know how when we do healthy relationships and we'll talk about some of the things you got to look for in your kids, like if they, for example, sexually assaulted. And so I used to always tell parents like, oh, you know, if your child starts wearing, you know, hoodies and 90-degree weather and all of these type of things, you know, that might be a sign you want to talk to your kid, or, you know, figure out that might be, you know, a sign or something that they that something may have happened. And so then, okay, here we are all these years later, and it's the norm for kids to wear hoodies in like 90-degree weather.
Right.
And so same difference with marriage, marriage was always the sacred thing that everybody wanted. That was what most women desired, was, to get married, to have a family, 2.5 kids, and all of these other things. And now it's like all of these things have worked against that. So a lot of people aren't seeking marriage, but they aren't seeking marriage because marriage has a bad name. Not just, I hear as many men as women say, oh, I got, married women in my inbox, or I got married men in my inbox. And so people are putting out bad fruit when it comes to the sanctity of marriage, and is not held in the same regard as it's always been. So you can sometimes and I guess that comes with the difference between each personal marriage, because my marriage shouldn't be judged just because you knew something else about somebody else's marriage. Right. But then I think also that puts I don't want to say the burden, but that puts it back on us even more so to begin showing marriage in the light it was intended to be shown in. It makes it more of a need for us to bear good fruit in our marriage, because there's so much working against the sanctity of marriage nowadays anyway. Some people just don't take it the same. Like there's people out here who's married with kids, but they got whole relationships off on the side, and it's the norm. It's okay. Right. We know it's another relationship somewhere, even though my wife is at home, but I got my girlfriend over here and I spend most of my time at her house. People are living like that. It ain't secret. Like, I don't know. That's like, it's crazy to me how the tables are turned. But I always bring that back to, how the devil is trying to pervert marriage, or the idea of what God had for marriage is what he's, ultimately trying to pervert. And that's the mindset of some people nowadays. Like, no, there's no sanctity to marriage. And then is disheartening, because I see so many women, the way they talk concerning marriage. And I don't say that to say, oh, if you're a woman, you have to desire this thing, call it. Because some people, maybe they don't want to get married. Maybe that's not the call God have on their life, to get married. And that's okay. But the speech, when people talk about marriage, when I hear certain women talk about marriage, or even, the way, I see people live their lives, it's like, man, it just, I don't know. It's kind of like disheartening that this is where we're at now. Like, that's not something that's held sacred anymore. Like, we don't even talk about it in sacred terms anymore. Not everybody, but a lot of people don't talk about it like that. It's a sacred thing that, this is what I want for my life. A lot of people don't do that now. It's people okay with, fornicating and doing whatever, because marriage isn't viewed that way anymore. This is the life. So I don't know. That's just, I don't want to say it's disheartening, but I think it puts it more, that importance on us to say, no, this is what marriage is. This is what God intended for marriage to be, by us as the couples, bearing that good fruit. So people will see that, and that's the fruit that I'm now desiring. No, I don't want that bad fruit that I hear so many people talk about, but I seen 10 couples who bearing good fruit in their marriage, and that's the type of fruit that I want. And then begin to seek that, and that start taking over versus all the bad fruit that so many people are talking about right now. And so, I think it's always on us to really show the goodness of what a marriage can be, because so many people are turning their backs against marriage. But there's the sanctity of marriage. There's the blessing that comes with being married. Like, God honors that. And so if God is honoring that, of course, we got everything fighting against that to say, oh, you don't need that. Oh, that's just a piece of paper, so, but I don't know. So when I came up with that topic, that's where my mind took me, is what type of fruit is your marriage producing, that's going to get out there to the masses, that's going to begin to change that narrative that this is such an awful, horrible thing. And no, don't worry about that. Just live your life this way.
Right.
But if I want the good fruit, if I was a single person, I'm looking at the good fruit that I see around here. I don't want to take in the bad fruit, because then that takes me away from maybe a purpose and a destiny that God got with whoever my partner is. So
I mean, it's really like, to me, it's really about what your circle looks like, because a lot of these individuals don't necessarily have a good model at home. You know what I'm saying? So that's one quote unquote strike. And then, okay, if my circle of friends or circle of acquaintances or people I follow on Facebook and all that different stuff are in these broken marriages and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And they're the ones on there complaining and
go ahead, just my bad. I didn't know I was gonna do that.
Unbelievable.
My bad.
But you know what I mean? So it's a matter of what you choose to take in and to pay most attention to. I tell people all the time on Facebook, like in these little stupid sports groups, I'll be like,
oh, they stupid now?
Yeah, they always been stupid.
Okay.
But I tell them, like, y'all love drama. You know what I mean? Like, the world loves drama.
Yes.
So when people are putting their business out there, or you see these couples and married that, you know what I'm saying, like you said, might have a side dude, have a side chick, or whatever the case, like, people that entertains people.
Yes.
But at the same time,
that pervasive bad fruit.
It turns you off from, well, I ain't getting married because look at all, you know what I'm saying? But that's what you choose to be entertained by, or what you're choosing to watch. You know what I'm saying? To saturate your mind with and be like, oh, so now you're in a place where, well, I ain't trying to get married. Between that and marriage has now become, for a lot of people, a business partnership, as opposed to like for love, you know what I'm saying, for love purposes. Like, a lot of people now get married because, oh, it just financially makes sense. Or, okay, oh, well, we're going to get married for this reason or that reason, as opposed to like, oh yeah, I really love this person and really want to be with them the rest of my life. Like, marriage is sometimes a convenience for people. And that's
but you know, that probably lends to why so many people are bad at marriage.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I got married for convenience sake, but I'm still living my life as if I didn't have this convenient piece right here.
Right.
So I don't know. I wish we were able to start seeing more marriage-minded things being put out. Which, I mean, I have. I'm not gonna say I haven't. I do think like a lot of people, sometimes I feel like when God is dropping something on me, he's not just literally dropping it on me. It might be dropped on people at all different points in this world.
Right.
And so I have seen some good things about marriage, but we see so many things about marriage, but maybe not where the focal point is God in a relationship, if that makes sense. So I'll see a whole bunch of stuff about marriage, but then, you know, how many people are really sitting talking about the God of the marriage? You know what I mean? Like, even if we can have that conversation about marriage, but really highlighting how God was helping these marriages stay together, or how, you know, seeking him and praying together and, you know, fasting together, doing all of these things is what's really keeping the glue of that marriage together. And it's not centered around these amazing videos that we put together, these special moments, but we highlighting God, not just all these little special moments. And like, I'm not saying that I don't enjoy seeing those type of videos or whatever, but I often say, like, you know, for me, sometimes I think like it takes away, you know, I'm so invested in showing my marriage this way, you know, that I set up the perfect angles, the perfect, you know, shots, the perfect kiss, the perfect moment. And this is my real marriage. I set all of those things up to be so perfect, so I can catch it on camera and it can go viral. But I'm not catching the essence of sitting here having this conversation with my husband where we're talking about bearing good fruit in marriage. Like, the purpose wasn't to catch the best angle of us or the best me doing this. You know what I mean? And that's what I see sometimes. And so even when we're talking about, oh, that's goals, that's black love, that's this, we see all of those things, and those that might, you know, I don't know, be a good marriage, but are you showing what God did to get you through the humps? Or when you had that trial, are you showing that God is what's really keeping these marriages together? We can talk about this horrible, awful thing that we had to face together, maybe the loss of a child or whatever it may be. Are we talking about how God did that thing? Or are we catching the tears or the all of those things that's giving this like highlight reel of our marriage so we can attempt to go viral, but we're missing the fact that, you know, if we keeping God the center of these marriages, that's, I don't know, for me that's kind of what ends up mattering, not the highlight reel, if that makes sense. And don't get me wrong, because I'm not saying that I don't appreciate a good reel, because I do, and I love to laugh when I see some of this funny stuff. But I still think, you know, we're so invested in showing these cutesy little reels that kind of just distracts and takes us away from the purpose to me, in my opinion. I mean, you might not agree. You tell me. Haven't told me anything.
It do. I mean, I'm agreeing. But it goes back to like what people's motives are. You know what I mean? Like, what's your motive for posting what you post? Like at the end of the day, what is it? You looking for validation? You looking for likes? You get paid for this? You know what I mean? Like, what's your motivation for posting what you post? We had a conversation the other day, but before I get into that, I was just thinking it was kind of funny because I know a lot of people watch Power, and on Power, I remember there was an episode where dude Ghost or whatever was his side lady died or something, and he gonna tell his wife like, I just lost the love of my life. So like that's some people's favorite show. You know what I mean? But like, but on this show, like he's telling the person he's married to
that I just lost.
Yeah, I just lost the love of my life. His side chick. You know what I mean? So like it just puts it in perspective. Like that's literally also what they, you know what I mean, on TV. So like
that's what they see.
Yeah, you're watching this show, and I'm not, and I know some married people watching this entertainment and stuff like that. But if our younger people are watching, you know what I'm saying, like stuff like that, high schoolers that aren't married, single people that aren't married, stuff like that. Like
and this is what's popular right
now. Yeah,
now.
That's stuff that's getting glorified.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, I lost my train of thought. I knew I was going to. I knew I was. Just like the motives for posting and stuff like that. Like we had a conversation the other day, like at church, and we were just talking about, just like you asked about how far like your reach is, how far your fruit goes and stuff like that. And we were just talking about doing things like feeling some type of way because 1 million people didn't like my post, or 200 people ain't on my video. Like putting too much stock in those type of numbers, like instead of understanding that, you know what, the 4 people that logged on that day was the 4 people that needed to hear what we said.
Yeah.
And those 4 people will then in turn take something from that message to 400 people or 4,000 people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not always, we're not always going to be that direct, hey, you benefited from my fruit, or like the good fruit hit 5,000 people. Sometimes it's going to be that, hey, here 5 people over here, and them people went and told 10 people. And then them 10 people took that thing, because you never know.
Yeah.
One of them people could be in circles in Peru or whatever we say.
We're going to Peru because this is like
know.
what?
That's the first thing that popped in my head. I'm just saying somewhere across the ocean where, okay, my feet ain't never touched there. But because I was connected to somebody, or somebody chose to log in, or somebody visited the church, or somebody, you know what I'm saying, seen how we interact or something like that, and they talked about it, or they took it back to wherever they're from. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think that, I think a lot of it is lost when people's motives are how many how many views am I gonna get? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
if that's your motive, then okay, you're gonna get a bunch of views, but you'll touch a few people, but out of those million views, you're not gonna touch as many people as you probably should have because your motives were just for those views.
Right.
So people go and watch it just for the entertainment part of it. They're not gonna watch it for, hey, let me really get something out of this, because you're not doing it to really have people get something out of it.
Wait.
My man Kenneth.
That's like little. I can't see that.
You can't see it?
Yeah, I'm in my 40s now.
All right. Or even if they don't tell anyone, maybe they change themselves because of what you say and their marriage changes. Countless amount of marriages.
Good word, Jim.
He didn't say that part.
He was up there.
He didn't say that part.
Yeah.
But that's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, you don't, and that's the thing. Like you don't have to tell your business. But like you said, sometimes you just keep it to yourself and you start working on yourself. It's that perception thing where okay. And that's making it we instead of me, where it's like, okay, we going through this thing. What part do I play in it? So I'm about to change what I can change. You know what I'm saying? And then we go from there as opposed to and feeling like or looking at it like I don't do nothing.
I mean, maybe you should host a just
all right, we doing pain reality, and you about to start talking about some other stuff.
I'm just saying because I mean I think sometimes like some of the stuff you be saying be good, like it'd be like wisdom behind it. I mean, you an elder now. I'm just saying, elders gotta have wisdom, in my understanding.
That's all I got.
That's all you got?
Yeah.
All right, whatever. I don't know. But I was thinking about it, and I don't want people to think that I don't enjoy seeing that type of stuff. Because I do. Some stuff, like I said, I think is funny.
Okay, so let me ask you, when you watch it, what do you watch it for?
I don't know. Sometimes I'm just scrolling and I see it and then I get a good laugh out of some stuff. Like, so for instance, like if like there's so many couples that I see on TikTok that do the little prank thing. And so I'm not saying that some of the stuff be funny, okay? Some stuff just be funny. And so I've seen it and I enjoy it and I laugh at it and all that. See, look, you should have did the plug.
Oh, I mean, yeah, we guys on the couch. Be back February 16th. We back on the couch.
But like, so sometimes it's purely entertainment.
8 o'clock. That's a Thursday. Go ahead.
Y'all done?
Yep.
Okay. Sometimes it's like it's enjoyable, but it's so many couples that do that prank thing.
Right. Those be fake.
Why? That's my point.
Right.
Like setting up all of that stuff, like that takes a lot of time and effort, but it's the same. Like, okay, maybe it's not a prank, but you set up. So this in particular, this one I watched, and it's just kind of annoyed me because I'm thinking like, how did y'all do that? Like you're supposed to be given this moment that you had in your marriage, but every angle, all of it was just set up so perfectly. Like for me, is that real marriage? Or is it just you setting up angles to post a video? Like
no,
what are y'all doing after that?
But that's what I mean. Like it's for that though, it's for that entertainment. It's for like a lot of those people and pages probably get paid. You know what I mean? Or like probably some way make some income off of that.
Yeah, but that just goes back to my thought process that stuff takes away from the sanctity of what marriage truly is.
I mean, it can, but for them, they're like their motives are to entertain or are to get whatever endorsement or make whatever money off of it. You know what I'm saying? Their motives aren't to show you the ins and outs of their marriage, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? What they're doing is, I mean, we're not trying to be transparent. We're trying to get these pranks off. We want to entertain you. Again, like we talked about, like everybody's marriage has a purpose. Like they may be at a point where they haven't found a purpose beyond that at this point. And if they haven't, okay, so right now, all right, their marriage, their marriage is showing us it's okay to laugh a little bit. Don't take yourself too serious.
But okay.
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna go with it. I'm
just saying, because at the end of the day, it's just like when we talk about when we're at church and you're hearing a message and you're sitting there, you're like, well, they ain't talking to me because what do they tell you? What do they tell you to do with the message?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Then
you had the thought.
I did.
Wait.
But no, what is it? Chew the fat? Chew the meat, spit out the bone, or whatever it is? Yeah, so it's the same exact thing with that. Like, don't look too deep into it. Like, because there's other marriages that are on social media that are doing podcasts, doing, you know what I'm saying, messages and stuff like that. So those are the ones that you focus on. If you're looking for
something deeper.
Yeah, something deeper. The other ones is just the entertainment. Take it for face value. Take it as the entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
What he said?
He said he don't know either. I'm gonna go with it.
Thomas.
I'm gonna just go with that because I don't know that I'm gonna have to explore that a little bit more later. Because I see that, a little differently.
I understand.
I get what you're saying too. I'm gonna just have to explore that a little bit later. And we're going to go back to talking about our fruit and our purposes. Because I don't know, there's a lot more I could say about that thought process when it comes to that. I don't know. I don't know, because I'm thinking of it along the lines of, the devil use all type of tactics to get you away from the actual true purpose. And if he can shine the light on all these little inconsistencies, is taken away from the true purpose of marriage. And I don't say that to say these people is wrong for doing any of the things that they do, because maybe that's what they enjoy in their marriage. But I was talking to Pastor Raynell, and she said, what she said to me was, hold on, because I want to get it right. But it made a lot of sense. Let me see, I gotta find it. Hold on. There we go. Okay, she said the enemy will use the things of the church to try and deceive the church. And so that's what I think of when I think of when we had this marriage talk. So it's so many things being used to deceive what the true purpose and intent of the marriage is. So many, and I don't say that to say that we got to sit here and come up with a reel that's so transparent and so gut wrenching that we're gonna have people crying. That's not what I mean. But I think there's so much fluff stuff. There's so much fluff stuff that people get married and think their marriage about to be what they've seen in these reels and all of this type of stuff. So now you're distracted from the true purpose. You're distracted from the work that comes in to marriage, from the prayer that comes into marriage, from the let's go to God about this thing when it comes to marriage, because you're so interested in the fluff of what people make it seem like when we on all these reels that we enjoy that are in entertainment about marriage. Like, oh, that's what I want to do with my spouse.
But that's finding that balance between and being able to decipher between, okay, this is strictly entertainment. When I want something deeper and I want some real marriage talk, like I have other people that I follow, or other groups or other podcasts that I listen to, other messages that I listen to and stuff like that. Like it's up to the individual. You know what I mean? Like to to be able to understand and know, like you said, there's going to be distractions. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be stuff that you see where like paint's just the prettiest picture ever. But if I only have people in my circle, again, painting that, oh, it's always perfect picture, then yeah, I'm in for a rude awakening when I get married and it's not always perfect. You know what I'm saying? Because
but that's my point. That's what's actually happening.
yeah.
And then more people are running in droves to get divorced, which is perfect for the plan that the enemy done had. Is, you know, I don't want people to be married.
Right.
You know, I don't want that ministry to produce good fruit.
Right.
So let me distract them with all this fluff and all of these other things that is really not marriage, but make people think, oh, that's marriage. That's great. I want to do that. So, but our time is up.
Yep.
So you can close it out.
Parting words, I guess.
Prolific
No prolific dissertation. No.
I mean,
I would simply say just be intentional and just understand again that you're not living your life for you. In the sense that there's so many different circles and so many different lives that you'll touch. You'll touch people's lives with the words that you say, with the way you carry yourself, with the way you talk about your spouse, with the way you and your spouse interact, and you won't even know it. There'll be people at some point that will tell you, hey, I'll watch you and your wife on your podcast, or I'll see you and your wife at church, or I'll see, and you're like, who are you? But somebody's always watching it. Like somebody said earlier, somebody's always watching it. A lot of people in their marriage have kids and stuff like that. Just know your marriage is an example to them as well. On how to treat each other, how to, just how to interact and stuff like that. I would just say be intentional. That's all I got.
That's all you got.
That's all I got.
Prolific dissertation.
No.
It took you a whole 5 minutes.
It actually took
5 minutes.
1 minute.
5 whole minutes. People definitely are watching. So I think our next topic that we're going to talk about has to be intimacy. Intimacy in marriage. I'm gonna leave y'all with a little tidbit. Why are you looking like that?
Just waiting on the tidbit.
Yes. So a long time ago, I decided that I wanted to figure out different ways of having intimacy in our marriage, and intimacy goes beyond a sexual thing. Okay. And so one thing that me and you did was slow dance. So another conversation, but slow dancing was one of those things that we do. Like we ain't did it in probably a couple months at this point, but every night we would find just one song and we would slow dance.
No, I would find the song.
Yes, that was his job, to find the song. And we would slow dance to that song. So I think the next time we do Pain Reality, we can do that. Like
slow dance?
No. Talk about intimacy, ways of creating intimacy in your marriage. But that's just one thing. Another thing that I thought was a good idea that we used to do is hug for 30 seconds. So just little stuff like that. So I think the next time we talk, that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about intimacy and marriage and ways to build the intimacy in your marriage. I mean, in the Pain Reality way, because this is based off of our opinion.
Yeah, we can't tell y'all what to do.
Yeah, we can't tell y'all what to do. So this is going to be based off of our opinion. So until next time, y'all be blessed. If you're married out there, really think about the fruit that you're producing in your marriage. Some of the good stuff that you're putting out that's really changing that narrative of what marriage turned into and changing it back to what God originally intended it to. I think that's one of the purposes of most marriages, especially godly marriages. So y'all be blessed. Y'all have a good night, and we will see you all the next time on Pain Reality.